Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater, and today is a very solemn anniversary. It is. It's a super solemn, sad day. Because a year ago today was the day I went and saw Star Wars The Last Jedi for the first time. When I went in feeling like an optimistic young pup ready to head off on a grand adventure, and I left not knowing how I felt about what I saw, trying to convince myself that I liked it, trying to convince myself that it was good. And then on the 15-minute drive home, going over everything I saw in my head, thinking about what I was going to say in my review, it all kind of came to light. Then I got home, I sat down in this very same room, looking into a camera, talked about the movie, and during the review of the film, I got even more frustrated. I got even more upset. And I said, I'm going to do a video about everything I hated about the movie. And then I immediately finished up my review and I recorded this rant. And the rant blew up. The rant went viral. Like 330 plus thousand views, a lot of new subscribers, a lot of people felt the same way I did. So a couple days later, I took my family to go see the movie because I'd already pre-bought the tickets for like $100, and I'm like, I might as well. And while I was more apathetic to the film, over the course of the last year, that apathy has not grown into anything other than almost just emptiness when I think of it. When I think of Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I think of everything that's been said about the movie in the last year, I think that it was such a monumental screw-up that it will be forever a black stain on the franchise. Right? Now, there will be people out there that argue with me. But Matt, $1.3 billion. Highest grossing or most selling Blu-ray DVD of the year. That or Black Panther. Either one of the two. But it's up there. You just don't like movies that subvert your expectations. Blah, 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 blah. No. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was as easy as just going, Rian Johnson's vision of the film was just different than my expectations, and as a result of my expectations not being met, I intrinsically disliked the movie, and as a result of that, have just carried or harbored this anger or resentment towards it as a result. If it was that simple, if it was that easy, Christ, oh my God, I would be so happy. Because this is where I am as a fanboy. I want to like The Last Jedi. I do. I want to like the movie. I am trying desperately in my mind, in my heart of hearts, to enjoy the movie. I can't do it, and I'll prove it to you. I've got it on Blu-ray. I bought it the day it came out. The day it came out, back in April, I picked it up on Blu-ray, $23.99 at Costco. Because now they're charging more for Blu-rays, right? I got it. Part of my collection. You have to own it, right? Part of that OCD I have for buying a lot of things Star Wars. I've also got Solo. I've got Force Awakens. I got Rogue One. The difference between those and this is still unopened. Unopened. I bought it. I gave Disney more of my money, which I'm sure will be a comment in the chat. And yet I cannot bring myself to open it and watch it. Can't do it. It's on Netflix, so why even bother at this point? Fire it up on Netflix. Watch it on there. Sure. I've tried. I've tried. But what is beautiful cinematography and what's a well-directed movie is not a well-told narrative filled with absolute fuck-ups to the highest order. Right? I'm sorry. You will never get me to sit there and go, the assault on the Dreadnought in the beginning with the bombers. Rose's sister being in the bay for the bombers without an air mask when we saw a pilot with a mask just moments earlier. And gravity dropping the bombs on the Dreadnought into space and her laying there getting ready to get blown up. No. I mean, as well as, let's say, as far as a shot goes, it was beautifully done. It was a beautifully done shot. It was emotionally captivating. But there's always that little nagging element in the back of your brain. There's always that little nagging element that kind of starts putting the laws of physics and other things together. Now, granted, this is a space opera dealing with, a fantastical religion that doesn't exist, dealing with powers of which do not exist in real life, and there's going to be a suspension of disbelief. Sure. Yeah, no, I get that. I totally understand that. At no point in time am I arguing against it. But there's still that little nagging element. Like, I can believe TIE fighters fly through space. I can believe X-Wings fly through space. Because there are elements of space that have not been broken yet. No oxygen in space. No gravity in space. These are things that are just universal truths. Therefore, even though there shouldn't be fire in space and we get to see it, one could assume that when it happens, it's just oxygen burning up. At least that's something to consider. But when bombs fall directly from a bomber straight down onto a dreadnought, and it doesn't look like there's any force field or anything that would indicate why this would be there, that little voice starts to get louder and louder and louder. And then Kylo assaults the command ship, takes out the deck, unceremoniously kills Admiral Akbar, takes out Leia. When that part happened, I was legit sad. I'm like, oh, they're gonna kill her off. Holy shit. Okay. It's not what I would have done, but that's a bold move. That subverts my expectations, right? It's a bold move to deal with the situation of war, where people will die without it being heroic or being dramatic. It will just happen. Fine. That's what this scene's meant to convey. Bold, but I can go with it. And then Carrie Poppins happens, and it just completely destroys it destroys everything we know about Star Wars. It really does subvert the expectations, doesn't it? It really, really, really does. But not in a good way. Not in a good way. Because not only does she pull herself back after surviving in the vacuum of space for probably a couple minutes, she then goes into a coma for like half the damn movie and then is just miraculously fine. It's poor storytelling. It's just poor storytelling. You could have killed her off at that point in time and been okay. And it would have shaved off some running time. It would have given fans closure, not necessarily the best closure, but better than what we got. Because now that she's actually gone in real life, we won't get that direct closure without it being just reused footage from The Force Awakens. So there's that. Never mind Admiral Akbar just getting totally screwed over. But I don't want to dwell just on that. Then you got Admiral Holdo. Right? Or Admiral SJW, as people were calling her. And I love me some Laura Dern, and I thought the character, in essence, could have been good. The character, again, in retrospect, could have been good if we would have been given a reason to care about her sacrifice. It's the same thing I said with Lyra Lestrange at the end of Crimes of Grindelwald. Her death was unearned. That emotional resonance that they were going for was absolutely unearned. Holdo's death, her sacrifice in The Last Jedi, unearned. No one cared. It was like, oh, okay, she's had maybe 4 scenes, and she's been annoying in all of them. Moving on. It should have been Akbar in that role. It should have been Akbar in that role. It should have been Akbar who said, it's a trap, and I have to go and do this. And the Mon Calamari could have gone off like a goddamn pimp, like a hero, that people out there put that on him. There's nothing wrong with playing into fan service, provided it tells a good story and plays into the larger narrative. But just taking out Admiral Akbar, bringing out Carrie Poppins, and then giving it all to Holdo, a character we've never met and don't have any reason to care for, who has an animosity towards Poe, but then it was like, well, I mean, I like him, but he's just a flyboy. Holdo's own actions cost the Resistance the vast majority of who was left, right? She killed so many more people than Poe Dameron did. She killed so many more people, and it all could have been completely avoided if she just would have been like, yeah, so here's my plan. There's a base over on that planet called Crate. We're going to send out our ships and we're going to do this. right? Or, you know, when the other ships are running out of gas, they could have just turned around and rammed straight ahead. You know, the hold-on maneuver could have been used twice before it. Just saying. Just saying. You know? And if you already know you're screwed and you're just trying to get away, that be how you do it. Now, I don't want to even go into the whole Luke Skywalker situation because that is just god-awful. I don't mind Luke being on Ahch-To, him hiding away from his shame, from what he attempted to do to his nephew, but there's a responsibility I feel the character would have ultimately come to understand, especially after coming across the scene where Rey and Kylo were touching and he blew apart the hut, you know, like finding a 15-year-old daughter with a 23-year-old Burger King manager, you know what I mean? Like that kind of shame. And then at that point realize that this is partly his fault and he has to take responsibility for it. Reset the balance because he offset it by his own actions. So then he would go to Crate himself and fight Kylo himself and die himself. Not force doppelganger his ass halfway across the galaxy without even really knowing where they are. I mean, that's like the you know, the world's greatest crapshoot in the entire history of the universe. Vast places around. Oh, they're on Crate? Ah, yeah. Hold on. Let me pop that in my Force speed dial. What are you, like, are you pulling out the phone book from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure? Bloop, 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 bloop. Crate, here we come. No. You show a scene of him realizing that he's wrong. Even if you don't want to show him actually realizing that he's wrong and you just want to cut to the surprise him showing up, cool, because you did that. But what you should have done, because you already somewhat alluded to it, is that he had crashed his X-Wing into the ocean around Ahch-To. So he could have pulled out the X-Wing, force clean that shit, right? And then been on his way. Would have been more realistic, more understandable, would have been a lot better. Would have been a whole hell of a lot better. But no. Gotta subvert those expectations. Man. Canto Bight. Oh my God, Canto Bight. If there ever was a more useless scene in any of the 10 total Star Wars films, I have yet to think of it. Not even just a useless scene. As I'm sure there's useless scenes. We're talking a useless set piece. We're talking a full-on, decent-sized chunk of the film that ultimately did not need to be there. Because if Admiral Holdo would have done the right thing, keep in mind, backs to a wall, Empire or First Order's closing in, you might as well just be open about what the plan is and not keep people in the dark because they get frustrated and scared and they might do dumb shit like attempt a mutiny. Just saying. Pretty sure even the best commander would be like, okay, guys, here's the play. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, cool. We can do that. Everyone's on board. The unit's copacetic. Everything's good. But no. Let's sneak off and go to the casino planet. Save the floppy dog-eared horses. But forget about the slave children. Forget about the slave children. I mean, come on. You go all pro PETA, fine, cool, whatever, man. But you leave the children. The Force-sensitive children. They could have teamed up with Rey. She would have taken on the mantle of Luke Skywalker. Or Luke could have come back and then been like, yo, what's up, kid? Oh, I see you have some abilities. I have some abilities too. We should hang out. And then there you go. The start of the new Jedi Temple. You renewed vigor into what his original goal was. But you gotta subvert those expectations. You gotta subvert those expectations. And then what the hell was up with Benicio del Toro? I don't mind the character DJ. I think DJ was an alright character. The stutter got to be a little bit too much. Obviously, Rian Johnson doesn't know how to direct Benicio del Toro and just kind of said, yeah, do whatever you want to do. And he's like, I'm gonna do this. Because he likes to be weird and no one ever says, stop it, Benicio. Go back and watch the Usual Suspects and tell me that Benicio's accent in that thing is not very similar to this one in terms of just being there for the sake of being there and not actually adding anything to the character. I'm just saying. So you got that. Now here's how I would have handled it if I were gonna magically rework The Last Jedi. Instead of going to Canto Bight and meeting DJ, I would have had DJ be the double agent, the mole in the Resistance that was trying to escape before he got and got caught by Rose. And then knowing about how they were able to track the ship through hyperspeed, right? Or hyperspace, because he's the one who established that particular homing beacon, he would then lie and be like, I know how to get us out of here. You just got to get me to that ship. And because Finn and Rose are freaking idealistically idiotic at times, they would have believed him. Then they would have gone over there and you could have it play out the exact same way. And then you cut out all of Canto Bight and it establishes there's consequences for what Rose was doing and that she actually was doing the right thing by trying to stop the deserters because she would have actually caught the guy who was responsible for all that shit. She just didn't know it. Oh my God, all of a sudden the movie subverts your expectations by being better. The movie is just, it's a complete failure on so many storytelling elements, but it's entirely backed up, and this is where I'm going to praise it, by not only stunning visuals, excellent actual direction. I will give Rian Johnson credit. As far as direction goes, the movie was great minus a couple parts. Like this whole scene in the cave. Who cares about that? You got to go in a dark hole, Ray. You gotta get in some weird loop and like try to find out who your parents be. Who are they? I don't know. They're paupers dead in a ditch somewhere. Oh, that's fun. That speaks to myth and legend, which is kind of like why people like the idea of the space opera that is Star Wars. That's just whatever, man. The movie's well directed. It is. Great visuals, stunning effects. I would argue that John Williams brought it for the score. I've listened to the soundtrack on that quite a bit. The soundtrack is amazing for The Last Jedi. I would argue, hands down, that's probably the best aspect of the entire production was John Williams bringing it. Because John Williams always brings it. Even solo. He did pretty good on the score. Right? Michael Giacchino handled the rest, but I'm a big Giacchino fan. So it's, I'm happy with that particular marriage for that point in time. But looking at The Last Jedi as a score was great. All the Star Wars soundtracks have great scores to them. John Williams did a great job. So this is one of those things where I think it completely works. But the movie itself is just, it's bad. Right? And I know that there are diehard fans out there that are going to be like, you're wrong. And I'm like, explain to me though, why? And the best they come back with is subverts your expectations. That's what I've been hearing for a year. Or you just hate women. No, I don't. I actually supported Rey a couple years ago. I lost a lot of subscribers on my main channel by putting out a video titled Rey isn't a Mary Sue. I don't believe she's a Mary Sue. I think Daisy Ridley has not done anything to help that narrative, to be honest with you. But I don't believe that Rey is a Mary Sue. I just don't. I don't think Luke's a Gary Sue. I think it's a very specific type of character, not an ad hom to be thrown out. So I don't assign it to those characters. I'll defend Rose Tico to an extent. The character has the opportunity to be interesting, but that action at the end, saving Finn from what would have been a badass heroic death, an earned death, by the way, an earned death. And that whole line of, we have to save who we love or what we love. And then she kisses him as the mini Death Star cannon just eviscerates, a doorway to a base on a deserted moon. And she's like, I love you, Finn. By the way, I just killed like half of our fucking friends. So just the tip when? And then, of course, Finn drags her back at least 1.5 miles, at least a solid ways, right? Where you got the whatever the other AT-ATs are out there, just watching. And like no one notices like the dude dragging the chick who's out cold through the salt desert. No one caught that. No one. It's like, hey, what's those guys over there? We don't have time for that. Like, it just, it's things that should not have happened for 200 is basically where it takes us to. Narratively speaking, The Last Jedi is horrible. Narratively speaking. That being said, where do I stand on the future of the franchise? Because there's a lot of people out there that just hate it. Here's the thing. I really liked Solo. I've watched it multiple times on home video. I was just watching it again the other day. I liked it. And it gets better every time I watch it. Unlike The Last Jedi, which just continuously, just again, that voice in the back of my head just starts picking apart little things that drive me up the wall. And I just can't do it. Hence why the Blu-ray is unopened. But episode 9, JJ seems to be kind of trying to right the ship, correct course, if you will. And I think he will. I think he'll be able to finish up the story he wanted. He set up in the beginning. Although I do believe that they should chop it into 2 parts, episodes 9 and episode 10, and kind of just act like The Last Jedi, which took place over the span of like, I don't know, what, 12 to 18 hours, just never happened. Just never fucking happened. Just let it go. That's what I think they should do. That's what I think they should do. This act like it never happened. It was all Finn's fever dream and move on. And this video will get a lot of flack, I guarantee it. It'll get a lot of flack, but it's true. Everything I said is true. Characterizations are terrible. Character motivations are garbage. The storyline doesn't make a lot of sense. We had no time to grieve for Han Solo, which was something that was in the novelization and originally in the script, but still never made it in. And they've tried to retcon the movie through not only a graphic novel, but the novel itself. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a radio adaptation at some point that's still going to retcon some extra shit to give some extra insight into some stuff that didn't make it into the movie. Like giving a shit about Admiral Holdo at all, maybe? I don't know. They've tried so hard to make this a good movie that it has just delineated its impact on pop culture. Just insanely amount. That's all I want to say. This completely destroyed it. A year later, and my feelings for it of apathy are still there. There are things I'm apathetic to. There are things I enjoyed. There are things that I didn't. But what I didn't enjoy is everything that cannot be fixed by a lot, which is going to be the narrative structure of the film. What is there and what gets defended? People defend Canto Bight. Like, ew. Ew. Stop it. It's terrible. But anyway, I just wanted to get that out of my system. I appreciate it if you guys made it this far. I am sure there are a few of you out there that did not want to sit through a 20-minute rant of me bitching about the movie a year later, but I appreciate it. As always, to people out there who love Star Wars, one way or the other, I'm with you guys as a fan. I will always be a fan. I just cannot get behind this movie for everything I've laid out and probably a few things that I forgot. I don't hate Star Wars. I don't hate the franchise. I don't think Disney's ruining it, but they are trying to make it their own, and it's just not working out very well because I feel that ultimately they lost out on what made the originals great, was telling a cohesive and coherent and concurrent story. I think even though Rian Johnson really borked this one, JJ will be able to save it. And JJ, I trust. May the force be with you. My name is Matt Jarbo. This has been $3 Theater. I appreciate you guys listening. Leave your comments below. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.